This is Talking Law on Radio 97. If you have a question to do with the law, Despina happy to answer it for you. The best way to get it to us is to go to the website, which is radio97.com.au, and there you'll find the contact information for us, radio97.com.au. It's right there on the front page. Now, Despina, before we talk about land tax and the changes in Queensland, just a quick one. Of course, we now have a new king, a king we haven't had such a person for decades and decades, but it also changes a couple of things to do with the law as well, and the way we refer to some lawyers.
That's right, it does. So we have barristers out there known as Queen's Counsel, or we did, because with the change, of course, with the Queen passing away and now King Charles III at the throne and the accession of the King, then what we have now is an automatic, the Queen's Counsel barristers are now automatically known as King's Counsel. So that's come out from the Australian Bar Association. That's across the board in Australia. So yes, everybody that was known as Queen's Counsel, and Queen's Counsel barristers are obviously at a very high level. They've achieved that status, and it's quite prestigious. But now they're all known as King's Counsel. So I thought that was quite interesting. And if there's any lawyers listening out there, they'll understand exactly what I'm talking about.
They've got to change their business card, so at the end, instead of QC, it says KC.
Email.
Exactly right. And I thought there was just a nice little tie, look, right or wrong, but we obviously have ties to the British heritage. And that's one of them as well that we still have.
So is it an automatic change? Is it in place
automatic?
Now?
Automatic.
Okay.
Yes, effective immediately.
A bit of royal trivia for talking this morning.
Exactly.
So now moving on to the new land tax that's coming to Queensland 1st of Jan 2023. I almost forgot what year we're in, 2023. So obviously the government are working on this. Is it positive action, Despina, do you think, or is it negative from what you've heard so far?
I think it's a very negative thing, to be honest. And I don't know what the Palaszczuk government was thinking when they introduced this. Of course, we can talk about the fact that I think the Treasurer came out and said there weren't going to be any new taxes introduced. And of course, this will change land tax. We always had land tax like every other state and territory does, but this changes the landscape quite considerably. And I just want to talk about some practical applications, because we did do a segment recently on the new land tax laws coming into force. But I thought we'd just talk a little bit about how this might play out, assuming that these laws remain laws in the future, with, who knows, with any change of government coming up. So, and that might change the position. But in any event, let's deal with what we have coming up for next year. So the bill has definitely been assented to. So I want to get that clear. And that the bill with these changes was assented to on the 30th of June this year. So there was some talk about, oh, it's not really passed, it's not law. Well, the bill has been passed, it's been assented to, and it's going to commence on the 1st of January for land tax changes. There are other changes as part of this bill and this act that's now been assented to. So they come into force 1st of July. But the land tax changes come into force 1st of January. Now, basically what this means is the Queenslander, so people, I was going to say you and I, you're in New South Wales, but I'm a Queenslander. So if I only own property in Queensland and I don't own property anywhere else, it's really not going to impact too much on me at all. If anything, we're really talking about people either in Queensland that own property interstate, but also those people who are still looking to migrate to Queensland, particularly the Gold Coast. People are still wanting to come up here and buy property, whether they want to live here or buy investment property. So we're talking people in New South Wales, Victoria and elsewhere in Australia that live there but buy property in Queensland. So they own property in that state and then they'll own property in Queensland. Okay, so it's going to impact these people. And yes, and it's not a very nice change, because basically it's going to be a higher land tax that you're going to have to pay if you own property in Queensland and own interstate land holdings.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, obviously, you mentioned plenty of people want to move to Queensland, and that's been the case for a long time, and certainly more recently, post-COVID times, etc. What about for investors elsewhere in other states who are looking to buy? I mean, the Queensland government wants people to buy and to build and etc. But surely that's going to be a bit of an impediment. Surely people are going to say, "Ooh, maybe I'll have to think a second time about that."
Well, I have to question why they brought this in, because this is going to kill the investor market.
Mm.
It has the potential to do that, depending on the values of properties you're looking at, but certainly it has the potential to kill it, because you've got interstate people wanting to continue to buy in Queensland and invest in our economy and in the state, but they're going to be sort of taking a second thought about, well, I don't know about these land tax laws. How's this going to impact on me? I don't know whether I want to invest, and they're going to think twice about it. So that's going to affect Queensland. So is this Queensland's only for Queenslanders? I have to question. I mean, is that what we're leading towards? And I think because this law doesn't make sense to me, because of the impact that it's going to have, and not any other state or territory has introduced this. So we were the first to do that. So why is that the case? So just to give an example, right? I want to sort of give an example of the potential for people and how this might impact them, so they can understand, well, how is this all going to work? How are they going to calculate this anyway? So if we give in a very simple example, someone's got a Queensland investment property valued at 400,000, and they've got a New South Wales investment property valued at 700,000. Together, that's combined 1.1 million. So you can say, okay, all my property in Australia is 1.1 million, unimproved land value we're talking about. So under the new laws, then you've got a taxable value of Australian land holdings at 1.1. So if you've got 1.1 million, because they're aggregated, right, under the new laws, then the land tax rate in Queensland would be 6,150, right, under 1.1, not 400,000, but now 1.1. Then what they do is they apportion it. So they go, okay, let's apportion between Queensland and New South Wales. So then what you do is you take your 6,150, you multiply that by your $400,000 land value that I talked about for Queensland, and then you divide that by your 1.1 million. So it's a apportionment calculation, and then you end up paying $2,236.36. So it's showing, that example shows that you're paying land tax under the new laws that you wouldn't be paying, because if you only had the 400,000 in Queensland, then you're under the threshold for an individual anyway, and you wouldn't be paying land tax.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
At all.
No, so they seem to be so essentially it seems like they want to get extra money because of something that you may own outside of Queensland. It doesn't really seem fair.
I think it's absurd that people appear to be penalised for the fact that they own interstate land holdings, and I think that's wrong. And in terms of practical application, sure. I mean, buyers or investors, owners of property, may not see the practical application of this until the financial year 23-24, because it'll be down the track after 30 June 2023, when the assessments start to come in, and then you start to look at your interstate land holdings. So it'll be down the track. It's not going to be an immediate effect 1st of January. But look, query whether this will remain law. I don't know. I guess if there's enough push by people like you and I and other stakeholders.
We'll have to wait and see.
And of course, we have a Queensland state election in less than 2 years as well. So things could change in that time anyway.
That's right. But there are a couple of ways. That's right. But there might be a couple of ways around that. So, maybe people might want to reach out to me in relation to that, in terms of how they can buy property in Queensland and what they should do about that for the future.
For sure. We won't actually be around next week, Despina, because of the public holiday on the Thursday. So we will be back for Talking Law on the 29th of September. So you have plenty of time to get your questions in to Despina. If anyone does want to send you a question or get in contact with you directly, Des, where can they go?
Yeah, so they can phone the office 55291 294, email info@prialalegal.com.au. These will all be up on YouTube. And yes, off next week, but I'll see you in a couple of weeks' time.
See you then.